This is Jilliana Ranicar-Breese, and I have the pleasure of meeting Joshua French, who is Brighton based, and he works for or with Bailey and French.
With Bailey and French.
What?
Yeah, with Bailey and French.
With
yeah.
Bailey and French, and you are the French. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how you started all this, because you in fact told me you were an actor. Tell me about your early life connected with acting.
Sure, I'd love to. So I was always quite a dramatic child, so that's very
you mean full of tantrums?
Yeah, and also full of laughter and light as well. On a good day.
Yeah.
And then when I was 14, I joined a youth theatre, Sheffield Youth Theatre, with
right.
a fantastic, the most inspirational teacher I've ever had, called Meg Jepson,
right.
Who ran this youth theatre.
And what did she teach you?
A few things, and one of the key things was to really push yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
So we would
outside the box.
Yeah. So we would perform plays, and we would be encouraged very strongly to improvise every time we did the performance. So it would never be the same.
How many years were you involved with this?
All from when I was 14 to 18.
And then afterwards?
Afterwards, well, it was a youth theatre, so then I moved on, and then I joined I went to drama school.
Right. So what did this lady teach you exactly? Because you were talking about emotions, expressing your feelings. What did she teach you? What did you learn?
So one was to be really present. So not just be able to be mindful, and we'd often fall still or meditate before our rehearsals, but also in the moment of performing a play to really embrace the spontaneous opportunities that present themselves, and as I was saying, to improvise and not do things in the same old robotic, staid and boring way, but always be trying to stretch yourself, do something new. So
who had she studied with or read?
She was very inspired by Peter Brook.
Ah, okay.
But also
method acting, perhaps, the American influence.
Not so sure about that, but definitely myths and legends and
storytelling.
Definitely storytelling.
Right.
So we would do quite deep, meaningful, rich plays. Such as The Pilgrim's Progress. That wasn't actually when I was involved with it, just before I started. But
yes.
Then Great Expectations, lots
the
of
classics.
Shakespeare, Tobias and the Angel I was in. And then, as well as performing those plays, we'd also have really in-depth philosophical discussions.
Now, what were the questions she would ask you? Because you said that, you were asked lots of questions and you were thinking about things.
Yeah, so
at an early age, in fact.
Yeah, she really, that was another thing.
Give me an example of some of the questions that she would ask you.
Well, the first one that pops into my head is, because we were in the play Tobias and the Angel, was do angels exist? Which is a very simple question.
And what's the answer? It's a simple question, but not a complicated answer.
And a complicated answer, and that is the thing. It would start off like that, and there was a group of between the ages of 8 and 18, and a group of about 40 of us, and we'd really have a debate about these issues. And people
what's the answer?
The answer to do angels exist is, well...
Have you got a guardian angel watching over you?
I wouldn't say that. However, I quite strongly believe that there's more beyond the material world, and perhaps there's a lot that we don't understand. However, I've certainly never seen an angel or demon or anything like that, so I can't verify that any of those exist.
Right.
However, it's quite an important part of me, and I think something that in the youth theatre was really encouraged in me and nurtured in me is that curiosity to see beyond what is the material.
Well, Anthony Robbins said, ask a better question and you get a better answer.
Exactly.
And I certainly go by that.
And that I love that. The power of a good question
Exactly.
can lift us beyond where we are.
And you no longer do acting, but do you keep in touch with actors? Do you resonate with actors in the theatre?
What I resonate with is I love art and culture in all its forms, and I resonate with especially people who, with their art, they can uplift a room and
an audience.
Yeah, and create kind of a shift in the mood and the mindset and the atmosphere in a room. So Laurie Anderson, for example.
Who's she? She?
So Laurie Anderson is a musical artist, visual artist, singer.
British?
American, actually. A famous one was Oh Superman, which was in the 80s. I think it was a single, but it's a very arty, strange kind of music single. But I went to see her at the Brighton Dome. Yeah, the Dome.
Right, and she inspired you.
And just, as an example, doesn't have to be an actor, but someone who really gives you a significant, precious moment when you're in the room with them. Those kind of people inspire me, whether it's acting or music or poetry.
I always recall in the 80s, I went to see Barry White at the Royal Albert Hall.
Fantastic.
Never forgotten it. Never forgotten it. The two concerts that spring to mind. The other one was an Algerian, very, very famous Rai singer. Can't remember his name now. Khalid. He's known as Khalid.
Oh, okay.
And the whole audience, I was probably one of the few English people there, also at the Royal Albert Hall, was standing. Nobody sat. I was the only one sitting. People were dancing, belly dancing, waving their bodies, doing belly dancing. It was absolutely electric.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Still as vivid, isn't it? And that's the thing, when a performer gives us that moment and that time that's
it's
so
the
vivid,
electricity, magnetism.
Yeah, you never forget it, and it really imprints itself on your consciousness, which I love. And so I'm inspired by other people who do that. So whether I was acting or whether I'm doing what I'm doing now, which is facilitating workshops, that's what I aim for, is to try and create that significant moment in people's lives.
Now, we'll come on to what your actual job is in part 2, but can you tell me, for example, who is the most inspirational speaker or facilitator for you? Who have you learnt the most from?
I don't feel, like when you say the most inspirational speaker or facilitator, no one comes to mind, because I do feel inspired by lots of different people.
Are they English or American? Australian?
Well, one person who comes to mind is Kate Bush.
Oh, okay.
And if you look at some of Kate Bush's early music videos, they are so funny in the way she dances, because she just does not care at all. She's free. There's this one called Them Heavy People, which is just her with her facial expressions and the dancing she's doing.
She's in the 80s.
Yeah, I think that's the 80s.
Yeah.
And I find that freedom and that ability to have that playfulness, but also she talks about some quite deep themes and subjects in that very song.
Right. Did she write the song?
Yeah. So she pops into my head as someone I find inspiring, and definitely someone who communicates as well as communicates very well, as well as changes the atmosphere in the room.
Okay, right. Well, in part 2, we're going to talk about your work today, and in part 3, we'll be talking about Action for Happiness. Thank you, Joshua.
Thanks.